Buenas tardes desde Filipinas.
Good afternoon from the Philippines. Good morning, Spain. Magandang hapon to everyone. Good afternoon to everyone.
From Manila to the world. This is Javier Galván, Director of Instituto Cervantes de Manila, and I welcome you to the closing ceremony of the 20th edition of the Film Festival PELíCULA-PELíCULA. I will continue in Spanish, since you know Instituto Cervantes is the institution devoted to promote and to teach Spanish language all over the world. But if you want to hear the translation in English, you can click at the bottom, the lower part of your screen, and there you can choose the English language. Muchas gracias.
Thank you everyone for having followed this second online event of the Película Festival, following it from the Philippines, from Australia, from Thailand, and from Malaysia. We hope that next year we will be able to see each other, maybe hug one another in the auditoriums of these countries in Southeast Asia and everywhere else. Well, this year we would like to make special mention to have that special memory of a person who is so loved by us, as she left us just recently, and she's no less than Virginia Moreno. She has been in all the editions of Película. This is the first one that she is missing, but for sure that from some place she has been following us. Virginia Moreno, as you already know, she has been one of the key persons in promoting films in the Philippines. She was the founder of the UP Film Center, and she was indefatigable. She was a staunch defender of not only of the Philippine culture in the international world, because she also had a wonderful role to play in UNESCO. She also was a poet, a writer of theater, and her production has been not really much, maybe scarce, because she was moving a lot in teaching and then promoting culture. But yes, she had some poetry and theater works, and of good quality, and very special in different disciplines. She had a really select work, beautiful work, and we know that we will be giving more value to this with time. La Loba Negra, which was also her pen name, or how she would call herself sometimes, was one of her works. As I said, Virginia was, for us, she was always present in the película, and we have a lot of testimonies. Maybe one of these days we're going to make a video or a documentary in order to show her untiring support for us. And she always had that wonderful support. She was there practically wanting to follow all the shows. Virginia Moreno, the great dame from Tondo, we miss her, but she will always be in our memory and always in our hearts. Inevitably, for the people who also are following us from Spain, and we would like to remember Antonio Gasset. He was also an enormous, a gigantic figure who, with the passing of time, I am certain is going to be more and more valued. With the end of this chapter of credits, giving thanks, I would like to thank also some of the producers who have left us their films. Emilio Luis Barcina from Tristes. Thank you, Emilio, for your generosity. And I also would like to thank the ambassador of Mexico in the Philippines for having interceded and having provided us this Mexican film, Observando las Aves. So now we know that this is a classic section of the festival, which is the Premio del Público or the Audience Award. It's like the choice of the people. And very soon, in a few minutes, we are going to know which film that is. So here you have the instructions on how to vote. I suppose you have already followed this through our webpage. I would just want to clarify, after watching each film, the viewer could just give points from 1 to 5, and that is how we have elaborated the ranking, the final ranking. But I would say that all the movies, all the films deserved really a prize. In fact, right now we can say that, like the Nobel Prize, there is always some controversy, but you can always say that all films, they're all prize winners, and maybe next year, in the years to come, we are going to have this category, perhaps dividing them in different clusters depending on the type of film that there is. But we always want to have transparency in the process. But the what we are going to give now is the movie that has had an average, not really the most number of votes, but then the average of the number of viewers and the votes. Now I'd like to announce, or just to remind you of this of another contest. It's a contest on reviews, the movie reviews of those that have been shown, and it is open to all students of Spanish in the universities, including the Instituto Cervantes. So we would like to foster them, to push the writing of Spanish. And let us not forget that the great Filipino writers, starting with Jose Rizal, began by writing in Spanish. And great part of 20th century, many wrote in Spanish. Virgin Moreno and Nick Joaquin, and they also wanted to try this, like Nick Joaquin, who was a defender of the Spanish language. He wanted to, afterwards, of course, for logical reasons, so he had to write in English. But then these young students of Spanish, they can write, and they can even have, for instance, they can ask their professor's help. For instance, Daisy Lopez, who we do not see right now, she is a professor from the University of the Philippines. She's an intellectual of first level. She writes also in Spanish. She also writes in poetry. Well, then, we have now reached this moment, which in all contests, it is of special meaning. It's so important because we always would like to know, no? And then we are interested who could be the winner, who could be the one that is given the prize. I am going to say then that the movie that has given that has received most votes, for I think for extraordinary reasons. I was pleasantly surprised to know this. I was pleasantly surprised to know the okay, now there's supposed to be suspense. There should be some drum roll. It's Antonio Machado, Los Días Azules, the Blue Days. Well, right now we have really that luck. Now I already see her because we can now count on the presence of the director, Laura Hoffman. Laura, welcome. Thank you. Thank you for being with us this afternoon. I can see that your production team really had so much success because it seems that we had to wait until the last moment in order to know who was going to be the winner. And then right now we had to get in touch with Laura, and then it's good that she's with us today, this afternoon, and she tomorrow. Well, hello, Laura. How are you? Well, I'm so happy, very, very happy. And I'm really so excited. So how do you value that in the Southeast Asia, so far from Seville? People really appreciate your movie. And besides, it's a documentary. It's it's not really suspense or romantic, or well, I would say we know that in different generations, um, sometimes some people don't even know Antonio Machado. No, that's why I really am so pleasantly surprised. Well, I already said the fact that it is a documentary film, it gives me even a lot of joy, and really, I'm so surprised because Antonio Machado was a great poet in Spain, but then outside Spain, so far from maybe people who are just far from the Spanish culture, maybe in Southeast Asia, maybe it's not so well known. But yeah, but yes, I am just this teaches me that the language of poetry is universal, and the emotion of what memory is, what poetry is, a story behind that, acknowledging a poet in a different country so far from our frontiers. Well, that that's what I've been saying, because with all the work that we've done all these years, really, I this has accompanied me a lot. This has given me, I felt so accompanied, because sometimes when we were working on this and people were telling me, what, Antonio Machado is so ancient. But then I received different types of reactions, but I also like criticisms, and also people who wanted to accompany me, who supported me. Well, Laura Hoffman, who is with us. She studied art. That's and this is her second film, and I think this was a really a brave, a valiant, a daring project. And then she has also written about Ruben Dario. So and that you have to look at the scenes that had to be full of plastic um, aesthetics. We also know that Laura is a producer of summer films. And she's a producer from summer films. Maybe later we can talk about your films, because we are really interested. And we also know Laura because of well, in Una Vez Más, of course, that is from Sevilla as well. I cannot resist. I need to ask you, is it really necessary for a creator to finance one's projects in order to be free? Well, I don't know if it is necessary, but then that was really our case. That's the case also of the other producer, because I think that we need it. We need it's out of necessity that we have a personal form, a personal way and style of understanding movies and creation. We need to have that freedom in order to choose or to count on what we really move us, what is our interest. And above all, in order so that the moment we start in Seville, especially in the college of the university, it was not so easy to look for funding for this type of films. So as producers, yes, we had to self-finance ourselves out of necessity and out of, I don't know if you're saying if it's obligatory, not really, but then in our case, yes, yeah, it was, we are just a small production film in the small in the film industry. So I guess it was even more difficult. But yes, at least if we self-finance, we have more freedom in order to move and work things the way we want it. Well, that's wonderful. I find it really magnificent because I know of other people who also in different artistic forms in order to talk about their maximum potencies, the potentials, they also need to be financed. Sometimes they help themselves, you know. Um, okay, let's talk about your documentary. You know, last year we also had a documentary film that won, which was El Cuadro. It seems that people would like to study and to research. But in your film, aside from, okay, it's documentary, but not exclusively, but then you also introduced creative elements like animation. We can see, we can witness this evolution in the documentary films in order that there with that mix in this genre. Do you think that is something that will stay on? Well, I think yes, because if we talk about the documentary as a report, maybe like TV series, right now I think film, because you know documentary is film, and that it's not just a, of inferior form of a movie, because in the last years we have seen how a documentary film can show a lot of alternatives of narratives in form, in style. For instance, in my case, well, I saw that it was I had a big fan of possibilities that kept growing and growing as I was making movies. And I was really fascinated because that's how I saw in this Dias Azules of this. Actually, it also became number one top grosser here in Spain. And that also made me think, well, I think now people, the public is just understanding that documentary films are important and they can be really like a real film. Well, I think there would be more time in order to maybe to film, to shoot more films, and maybe inspire other producers and directors in order to write this genre of documentary films. It's sometimes it feels bad that you have to cut because you have so much to say, but then in the editing they would have to cut a lot of things. You feel so bad, right? Like for instance, in if for instance if I'm talking to my boss, but my boss would tell me, no, we have to cut. So how do you cope with that painful process? Well, it's super painful because I've seen each and every step of this movie, and so like right now it really produces so much pain in me because there were so many interesting things. And so it's so easy, of course, you know, I would have wanted to go deeper into other topics, but then of course there's time constraints. But then it's for as long as the story is clear, the minimum of what can be said a minimum of biography, that narrative of Antonio Machado, of our country, of the memory of his time, of the importance of education and culture, and how it would transform. For as long as that is clear, that I wanted to recount that, I wanted to relate that. So I just have to just say no, so as not to, to go to different topics and to deviate. Yes, yes, there are so many, a thousand facets in the history that I would like to relate, a lot of things that I think would be so important, very, very interesting, that I had given my life and my work for that. And it actually, it can even be for one more documentary, but then whatever they tell me, if it's editing is like that, then I just have to say, okay, yes. Well, now that you're telling me that we should not even deviate, like right now, of course, I would like to talk about other other topics about the movies. I also have to be very careful because we only have 10 minutes. Normally we have 10 like an hour, and then an hour for the public. So I would like to tell the people, the starting in 6 minutes, we are going to start again showing this movie that won the audience award. So please take advantage of that. So we have 7 more minutes. If nobody, if the organizers don't call my attention or tell me to stop, I'd like to take advantage in order for us to continue talking. Tell us about your next project. Will the next one also be documentary? Well, yes, yes. Actually, during this summer, we have already started shooting, and we have more or less the script. Well, it's also a documentary about a woman who is she's indispensable for the history of our literature, the history of Spain. And her name is practically, maybe she's not really known, Maria Lecara. She was a very prolific theater author. For instance, the Canción de Cuna, the Song of the Crib, that also was taken into the story that was taken even to Hollywood. She was even in the government, a deputy of the Republic, and was very active in the feminist movement. But she would always sign with Gregorio Martinez Sierra. So that's why Gregorio Martinez Sierra was the name of the husband. That's why we don't know the real name of this lady, this author, um, this playwright. Also, through Doña Maria, I'd like to talk about other women who are there, the intellectual women, writers, they're artists, they're many, but then their names are not even in the books, unfortunately. Well, that is a wonderful work of research and then also didactic. And we hope that very soon we will be able to offer this to the followers here in the Philippines and Southeast Asia who are always following us in Spanish. So in this edition that you already know is the 20th edition, there is a section that is dedicated to the audience award. But of course, we know that we also were showing during these days of the festival. We have been showing um, all these the previous winners. So next year we will have, of course, the Antonio Machado, this winner, for next year. Thank you, Laura, for being with us. We know that the pandemic has not made it possible for you to come, but then we hope that in the next editions, you'll be able to come over. And also with this Pelicula Festival, we also have been wanting to promote production and co-production. Like we have our friend from Seville, Crespo, who would like to, together with Amparo Munoz, And she's well known here in the Philippines because she was Miss Universe when the pageant took place here in Manila. So I would like to say about this, to talk about this possibility of production and co-production to work together with directors or producers from different countries, maybe from Spain and the Philippines and Southeast Asia. I would always say in summer films, Guillermo and I, we always wanted to co-produce and to collaborate and to know how people from other countries, people outside our frontiers, our boundaries would work, and then to put together, to pull together the work of people, because this films, it's a magical moment, a magical opportunity in order to work together to show different ways of working, and it's beautiful whenever we shoot something. It's, you also see the universal feeling of other people, that people from different places also feel the same way as you do. It would be really nice to create movies together, transcending our boundaries, transcending space. And I also would like Pilar Crespo, I'd like to greet her now that you've already mentioned her. She's a wonderful producer. She's also from Seville. And I would say that hopefully that we will be able to see each other together. Well, that's wonderful. I think we're going to come up with a new School of Seville because we saw her in Una Vez Más with that wonderful cinematography. We know that they have not, it's not yet in the big screen, but there it has a lot of possibilities, and she will be able to make more films. Well, so that they don't call my attention, and so that the people would once more the public be able to watch the audience award, no, it's Antonio Machado. So we end here. Thank you very much, Laura, and congratulations. We would like to see you again, Guillermo and Pilar, and all our friends in film industry here in the Philippines, in Southeast Asia, and then in Spain, and so that we make that reality of working together. Thank you very much. Thank you to all of you, and for having, maraming salamat po. Thank you. Terima kasih. Opung krab in Thailand. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Laura. Thank you. Thank you. I'm really so happy. I'm so moved. Thank you. Okay, so now we give way to thank our sponsors. They're actually, they don't coerce us, because it's not that we have there's pressure, no? But no, they've been there to support us. The, thank you to our sponsors, and also to Pelicula, Antonio Machado, Los Días Azules, the Blue Days.
Hola. Welcome to Película 2021. Enjoy online and for free some of the best contemporary films from Spain and Latin America at www.pelicula.es. Película 2021 is an initiative of Instituto Cervantes in Manila and Sydney, the embassies of Spain in the Philippines, Thailand, Malaysia, and Australia, and the AECID in collaboration with the ICAA, the Embassy of Mexico in the Philippines, the National Film Archive of Thailand, the Sydney Film Festival, the Travelling Film Fest Australia, the Film Development Council of the Philippines, the UP Film Institute, the University of the Philippines, and Intramuros Administration.